I'm composer Garrett Fisher. Recently, I was commissioned to write a piece for the Torch Quartet. I created one video in which I explored my core impulse that guided me as I started out on this composition. In this video, I'm going to continue with my composition process and open it up to you. The first thing that got me really interested in writing for them was the instrumentation. The four instruments are clarinet, trumpet, vibraphone, and double bass. I began to imagine these instruments almost as characters, or maybe more as embodiments of qualities or intention. And the first thing that I started to hear in my head was the vibraphone. And it was playing something like this. It would just keep doing that. It made me feel like it was some kind of orb turning. It was fate. It was on its own trajectory. And we were lured in by its beauty. But at the same time, because we were lured in, we felt like we couldn't do anything about it. That's probably because I'm thinking of today in our country, where sometimes I feel like we're getting lured in by the fate of something that we haven't really signed onto, but we don't quite know how to change it, how to push the spin, how to change the trajectory. And so that's probably in the back of my mind as I'm approaching this very beautiful sound. Which is going to lure and hypnotize us with a promise of beauty, of a better future, of a better America, I guess. So we have fate spinning, and that's the vibraphone. That's kind of the character it's embodying. The next thing I heard was the double bass coming in. The double bass has a very low range. It starts down here, and it goes up to probably around here. Now, for me, that also, just from a sonic point of view, is very grounding, and it helps us establish the world of the sound of the composition by giving us that deep, dark, resonant bass line. I began to think of the bass as sort of our attempt to try to push the spin, or to try to change the trajectory of fate. But the thing is, can you change the trajectory of fate? You can't reverse fate. You can't take Earth and then decide to spin it the opposite direction. It's always going to be spinning in one direction. But can you push it this way or that? So while we had the vibraphone playing this, I wanted to have the bass pushing it with notes. The bow would go across the strings, and each time it would kind of push the sound. So it would sound something like... Now, what I'm doing is establishing a kind of power dynamic between the performers. We have the bass player grounding the sound, and even in a way supporting fate, and also trying to influence fate. But fate has its own design. It's going to keep spinning, but it will be influenced by the bass. Let's hear it again. So we begin to hear that for a while just to establish the tension and the sonic world. Now by tension, it's still very beautiful. We're still getting lulled in. And I still keep thinking of this sort of earth spinning of fate, which brings me to the next two instruments, the clarinet and the trumpet. And I'm going to focus on the clarinet because that is the instrument that I heard next. I heard it as kind of the embodiment of a whale. So as the earth is spinning and the bass is pushing the earth and trying to change its course, the clarinet is getting thrust from the earth out into space, and it's just kind of wailing. So I actually have an instruction called Torch Whale. And what this is, it spins off the turning orb. It's a recitative. And what I mean by that, it's going to follow the words of that text that I had said earlier. It's not going to actually speak the words. It's just going to sing them through the instrument. It's going to be, art is the sacred torch that must shed its merciful light into all life's terrible depths. Now that's beautiful, but I wanted to spice it up a little bit because after all, it is a performance and we're there to be entertained, not just to be dragged down. So I incorporated what I call the whale melisma. A melisma is a quick succession of notes that kind of fills in gaps. So I want the clarinet to have a little more freedom. Now the idea of following those words is really just a loose guide. And when I was saying the words and playing it, I was having a hard time because I was trying to match the words to the notes. But I think as the clarinet develops their own voice, they're going to develop their own line that might not quite relate to the text, but will have that same feeling. And I want them to incorporate that melisma. So let me try it without speaking the words. So I added a couple extra secret words. I'm not going to tell you what they are, but it does give for a fuller melody. So let me try to play all three of those instruments at once to give you a general sense of how this could work. If you're interested in following this piece and my other compositions, please subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you in the close future.